The Galactic Combat Academy's training hall buzzed with the chittering laughter of various alien species as they watched the newest batch of human cadets stumble through their first sparring session. Commander Zethix, a towering Krillian with forearms and chitinous armor plating, observed from the elevated platform with obvious disdain. "Look at them," hissed Vextar, the Academy's serpentine instructor, his forked tongue tasting the air. "They flail about like newly hatched larvae. No natural weapons, no protective carapace, no enhanced reflexes. How did the Galactic Council ever approve their admission?" The human cadets indeed appeared unimpressive compared to their alien counterparts. Where the Krillians possessed multiple limbs and natural armor, where the Zephyrians could phase through solid matter, and where the Thrakari had lightning-fast reflexes and venomous claws, humans seemed pitifully ordinary. Their instructor, a grizzled former Earth Marine named Sergeant Rodriguez, barked orders that seemed almost quaint to the alien observers. "Again, duck, weave, counter-strike. Your enemy won't wait for you to find your balance." Cadet Sarah Chen wiped sweat from her brow as she reset her stance. Around her, fellow human recruits practiced the same basic combinations they'd been drilling for weeks. The alien cadets had already moved on to advanced combat techniques, their natural abilities allowing them to master fundamentals in mere days. From the observation deck, the laughter grew louder. A group of senior Krillian cadets pointed with all forearms at the humans below, their mandibles clicking in amusement. "Perhaps we should place wagers," suggested Thrakmor, the Academy's most promising Thrakari student. His scales shimmered with confidence as his clawed hands gestured dismissively. "I could defeat their entire cohort with my secondary arms bound." Commander Zethix's compound eyes glittered with malicious interest. An intriguing proposition. "The humans have been here 3 standard months and show little improvement. Perhaps a demonstration is in order." The announcement came during the evening meal. All species would participate in interspecies combat trials, with voluntary participants from each race. The winner would receive priority selection for the elite Galactic Defense Corps. The losing species would face additional remedial training. The aliens' excitement was palpable. The Krillians flexed their multiple appendages, the Zephyrians practiced their phasing techniques, and the Thrakari honed their already razor-sharp claws. The human cadets, however, sat in contemplative silence. "They're going to massacre us," whispered Cadet Morrison, pushing his food around his plate. Sarah Chen studied the aliens across the dining hall. "Maybe, but Rodriguez always says the best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't expect." 3 days later, the Academy's grand arena filled with spectators from across the galaxy. Holographic displays showed odds heavily favoring the alien species, with humans ranked dead last. The first matches proceeded as expected. Krillians dominated through brute strength, Zephyrians confounded opponents by becoming incorporeal, and Thrakari overwhelmed with speed and venom. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Thrakmor, undefeated champion of his species against the humans' volunteer representative, Sarah Chen. The arena erupted in laughter. Thrakmor stood nearly 8 feet tall, his muscular frame covered in natural armor scales that had deflected energy weapons. His claws could slice through reinforced steel, and his reflexes were enhanced by a secondary nervous system. Sarah, by comparison, stood 5'6", carried no visible weapons, and wore only standard Academy training gear. "This is hardly sporting," Commander Zethix announced over the comm system. "Perhaps we should—" "The human accepts the challenge as stated." Sarah's voice cut through the arena, amplified by her throat mic. "No modifications to the agreed terms." Thrakmor's laugh rumbled like distant thunder. "As you wish, soft skin. I will make this quick." The starting signal echoed through the arena. Thrakmor moved with blinding speed, his claws extended, aiming for what appeared to be an easy victory. But Sarah wasn't where she had been a microsecond before. She had dropped low, rolled right, and come up in a crouch as Thrakmor's momentum carried him past her initial position. Before he could adjust, her elbow drove upward into a gap in his armor plating just below his ribcage. The Thrakari warrior staggered more from surprise than pain. No opponent had ever exploited that particular vulnerability. Few species even knew it existed. But Sarah was already moving, her hands grabbing his extended arm and using his own momentum to throw him off balance. "Impossible," breathed Vextar from the observation deck. "She's using his advantages against him." What followed was unlike anything the galactic audience had ever witnessed. Sarah didn't try to match Thrakmor's speed or strength. She made them liabilities. When he struck with lightning reflexes, she had already moved to where his momentum would carry him. When he relied on his natural armor, she targeted the joints and gaps that evolution had never fully protected. When he used his reach advantage, she closed distance faster than his combat programming had prepared for. The arena fell silent except for the sound of combat. This wasn't the chaotic flailing the aliens had mocked during training. This was something far more dangerous, deliberate, calculated, adaptive. Sarah moved like water, flowing around Thrakmor's attacks while striking with surgical precision at his weaknesses. "She's not fighting him," whispered Commander Zethix, his earlier smugness replaced by growing unease. "She's dismantling him." The end came suddenly. Thrakmor, frustrated and increasingly desperate, overextended in a massive overhead strike that would have cleaved a Krillian in half. Sarah stepped inside his guard, caught his wrist, and used a technique that leveraged his own strength against his shoulder joint. The sound of tearing cartilage echoed through the suddenly silent arena. Thrakmor collapsed, his dominant arm useless, his breathing labored. Sarah stood over him, not even breathing heavily. "Combat concluded," the automated referee announced. "Victory, Human Cadet Chen." In the stunned silence that followed, Sergeant Rodriguez's voice carried clearly from the human section. "Pain is temporary, pride is forever, but adaptation, that's survival." Commander Zethix slowly descended to the arena floor, his 4 eyes fixed on the small human who had just shattered everything they thought they knew about combat effectiveness. "How?" was all he managed to ask. Sarah helped Thrakmor to his feet, supporting his injured arm. "Every species develops around their strengths. But humans? We learn to survive by studying everything else's weaknesses. We've been the underdogs for our entire evolutionary history." She looked up at the thousands of alien spectators, her voice carrying clearly in the acoustically perfect arena. "You laughed at our training because you saw us practicing to fight, like humans. But we weren't training to fight like us." She gestured to Thrakmor, who was looking at her with newfound respect despite his defeat. "We were training to fight like you." The implications rippled through the galactic military establishment in the days that followed. Human combat doctrine wasn't built around superior physical capabilities. It was built around superior adaptability, pattern recognition, and the uniquely human ability to turn any advantage into a vulnerability. Within a year, every species in the Galactic Defense Corps was sending their elite warriors to study under human instructors. The same aliens who had once mocked humanity's apparent weakness now fought to understand the terrifying strength that had been hiding beneath it all along. And in quiet moments when the galaxy felt secure, military historians would note that the greatest predator wasn't always the strongest, fastest, or most naturally armed. Sometimes, it was simply the one that learned how to hunt everything else.